Archer's been on the air for a while, and while it's not exactly Zombie Simpsons, the newer episodes feel different to the show's golden years in a whole bunch of ways. But there's one angle in particular I want to investigate here, one area in which recent episodes of this show seem to differ from what we've seen before, and that's when it comes to stories which involve the environment.
How are we gonna be the spies with soul when we just beat the snot out of a bunch of tree huggers?
In case you're not familiar, Archer is a long-running animated comedy, originally on the FX network, a workplace sitcom where the workplace is a spy agency, a very poorly run spy agency. If you were going to oversimplify the show drastically, you could describe it as Family Guy meets James Bond meets The Office. There's far more to it than that, of course, but that's the nutshell version. It's a very irreverent show, and it's also a very long-running one, having recently concluded its 12th season. And it's this 12th season I want to discuss in this video, particularly the peculiar way it engages with one major reoccurring theme, the environment and climate catastrophe. Because, and I'm not sure how else to put it, the way the show interacts with these ecological concerns is weird. Hopefully you'll see what I mean by the end of the video, and why it's worth noticing. Like I said, the climate's brought up throughout season 12, but there's a few episodes I want to focus on in particular, with the main one being episode 2, Lowjacked. This one starts off pretty conventionally. Archer and the gang are en route to a team-building retreat in Paris when their lavish plane is boarded by eco-terrorists, who are trying to shake down the wealthy passengers to fund their cause. And while the story mostly goes in the expected direction after this, i.e. Archer and co have to mastermind a secret effort to escape the hostage situation, there's a strange tension felt throughout when our characters interact with their kidnappers. A sort of narrative unease, with these activists being the episode's villains. For instance, at around the point where a typical episode would establish the villainy of its antagonists, would clearly mark them as an enemy to be stopped, this episode kind of does the opposite.
Siberia had multiple days over 100 degrees this year.
Siberia? Like Siberia? Shit.
Throughout the hostage situation, Archer even gives the activist leader crowd control tips, and advises her on her course of action.
Okay, what's your suggestion?
Well, anytime you need to make an example out of someone, maybe knock this guy around a little bit.
I'd hate to hit him if he doesn't deserve it.
That's the point. If he gets hit, it could happen to anyone else.
And sure, this is partly to get one over on Cyril, but given the wider way this episode and Archer in particular refuses to condemn these activists, it's hard to view moments like these as being solely motivated by Cyrilophobia. Lowjacked even goes out of its way to establish a secondary antagonist, a bloodthirsty hostage negotiator, who seems perfectly happy to storm the plane all guns blazing, collateral damage be damned. While these activists are using force, even they are not trying to kill willy-nilly. Intentionally or not, the episode positions these activists against this cop, who comes to represent the status quo and its vicious attempts to maintain normalcy and disrupt efforts for change such as theirs. If this is the response environmental activists face when campaigning for change, the episode suggests, then tactics based in violence and terror such as theirs seem a shade more understandable. So Lowjacked seems unwilling to depict these antagonists as villains, as the bad guys, but it's equally unwilling to paint them as the good guys. One of the antagonists appears as a caricature of environmental activists, for instance getting hyper-aggressive towards a man for drinking from a single-use plastic bottle.
Don't you dare open that single-use plastic bottle!
Trust me, I don't like drinking water that isn't alkaline either.
Archer has sometimes played with the idea that our protagonists aren't always the good guys, due to their various moral failings and the rarely ethical nature of their profession. But through including characters and details like the aforementioned caricature, it doesn't seem Lowjacked is fully interested in exploring this idea. From a structural point of view too, the episode spends most of its runtime treating the hijackers as the enemies, the force that needs to be overcome by Archer and his friends. The climax sees them defeated, and yet that all feels slightly hollow, because as noted above, the episode seems reluctant to commit to vilifying them. Even that loose cannon nuthead is clearly the odd one out. As a result, the viewer's placed in a sort of hermeneutic limbo, perpetually unsure how to view these activists, and thus how to interpret the messaging of the episode. We're not dealing with straightforward moral ambiguity here. It's more jarring than that, almost as though we're being jerked back and forth from sympathy to antipathy. But I think things become a little clearer if we consider the show's past. Because this isn't the first time an episode of Archer has had environmentalists as antagonists. There's an episode from season 2 named Pipeline Fever, which sees Archer and Lana travel deep into some swamp or other to protect a pipeline from an eco-terrorist named Gandalf.
Gray's an ex-Green Beret, and he's attacked nuclear power plants, hydroelectric dams, whaling ships.
Whaling ships? What, he's against clean-burning lamp oil?
As the name Gandalf might suggest, this episode is a little less reserved in its treatment of environmental activists. It's not that this episode mocked environmentalism. It didn't, not really. In fact, the environmentalists probably come off best in this episode when compared to the spy agency and the fossil fuel industrialists who hire them. It's more that back then, the cynical, irreverent spirit of this show didn't waver even in the face of matters like these, didn't give environmentalism a pass. Archer, especially near the start of its run, was a fairly jaded show, and by the end of any given episode, pretty much every character or ideology gets criticized or undercut in one way or another. So Gandalf gives up his mission after being convinced by Lana that it was pointless, that Americans wouldn't change their ways, that change was impossible.
And victory will only come when Americans stop destroying the Earth, just so they can drive bigger cars, build bigger houses.
So, like, never.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's depressing.
In Archer's early days, environmentalism is one cause among many. An eco-terrorist is one antagonist among many, to be cynically dismantled. See the way Lana's ecological concerns falter immediately when she's placed in danger herself.
Archer, shoot it!
Oh, so now it's okay? What happened to your fragile ecosystem?
Screw the damn ecosystem, shoot!
You are such a hypocrite!
The environment is just another concern, just another motivation driving certain characters and certain plotlines. However, by Archer's 12th season, environmental concerns seem to be afforded a special place, above the show's cynicism. We've already talked about the ways season 12 episode 2 goes out of its way to nuance this set of eco-terrorists, but it goes beyond just this episode. The next one sees Archer and the gang chased by the British police after bugging the Prime Minister, and the Cheryl and Pam B story features this moment.
You know, tourism was developed by the British to drum up support for the expansion of an increasingly destructive empire. Its violent, cannibalistic success is basically the reason the world will end in 50 years.
In the episode, that moment's just as sudden and jarring as it appears here. It's not exactly out of character for Carol to say something like this, but given the focus of the previous episode, the inclusion of this moment here has weight. It feels deliberate, noteworthy, and above all, serious, in a way the environmental stuff wasn't back in season 2. And this seriousness continues in the following episode. Photo Op sees Archer and Lana on a conservation mission, attempting to return a baby gorilla to his habitat. The villains here are some truly malicious poachers. This whole thing's a cartoon, but even so, these guys are cartoonishly evil. But our heroes, now on the side of the environmentalists, are introduced with yet more uncharacteristic sincerity.
Good to know that capitalism is alive and well.
Hey, if it helps us get business and we're helping the environment, it's kind of a win-win, right?
Don't you think you should help just for the environment?
This is not the typical Archer tone, and this sincerity isn't the build-up to a joke or anything, it's all played straight. And given the irreverence with which this show treated similar matters in previous years, that sticks out. That's a change. And for the last part of this video, we're going to try and figure out what's behind this, why Archer takes environmental issues so seriously, even at the risk of compromising the narrative or its trademark brand of cynical humor. Two major options suggest themselves. First, it might be due to a wider societal shift in the way we view these things. It may simply be that the environment and environmental activists are no longer laughing matters for Archer because they're no longer laughing matters for society. As Crystal makes clear in that third episode, climate catastrophe will soon be a sobering and terrifying reality. And even for shows like Archer, even for people like Archer, it's becoming harder and harder not to take this seriously. Perhaps the creative team behind Archer realized this ahead of the 12th season, and realized that even in a pretty jaded show, some things, some people are beyond irreverence. Or this shift may well be due to a change in writing personnel on the show. It's well known that the creator and main writer for the early years, Adam Reed, largely stepped back from the show after season 10. The episodes since have been written by a wide variety of others. The show retains a cynicism, but it's now a selective cynicism, and it may well be the case that this is simply due to the different voices and perspectives of these new writers. Realistically, it's probably both of these reasons, and both of these reasons are tied together. Perhaps this change is just due to the different priorities of newer writers, but what is this if not an individual specific example of a wider societal shift in the ways that the environment and climate catastrophe are understood? And that itself is one of the most interesting parts to me. There's been a lot of discussion around the diminishing returns we've seen in the last few Archer seasons. I agree to a point, but I think there are areas in which the show is still trying to innovate to a degree, or at the very least, in which it's trying to avoid stagnation. And the fascinating thing about long-running shows like this, especially ones which do their best to stave off stagnation, is that the longer they go on, the more they reflect changes in their parent culture. The way Archer Season 12 approaches environmental issues is weird at times, especially when we consider the past of the show. And even if this weirdness sticks out at times and potentially complicates stories here and there, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. If nothing else, it reflects where a lot of us are at right now. Because there's a lot of us that don't know quite how to approach climate catastrophe. So I don't think we can hold it against Archer if they haven't quite figured it out either. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video interesting. If so, consider leaving a like, and if this gets much of a response, I may well return to Archer, perhaps even Archer Season 12 in a future video. And I'd like to thank all of my patrons on screen now, especially Kevin Douglas and Ian Fifield.